Welcome to the post-Geekout reaction for the new Ghostbusters film. I'm Aaron, this is Michelle.
Hello.
And for anybody who is new to this channel, the post-Geekout reaction is not a review. The official review is already up. You can see it right here. Bam! Just click on that right there. The official review, it's written out, it's professional, I think about everything that I want to say, and it is completely spoiler-free. The post-Geekout reaction is just our open and honest thoughts about the thing that we just saw. It's just a discussion about how we felt about it, and that does include full spoilers. And you guys might have noticed, I tend to always start the post-Geekout reactions with a joke, but when it comes to the Ghostbusters film, I've been so nervous about this review and about how people are going to feel about it, that honestly, I don't care anymore. I really don't. I have pushed myself to that point where it's like, oh my god, what's going to happen, what's going to happen, how are people going to feel, how are people going to feel? And then I went just all the way back around to like, you know what, screw it. I went over the edge, I really just don't care. If you hate me because I like this film, just tell me in the comments below. Tell me that I have no appreciation for the original. Tell me that I'm just some pandering social justice warrior who wants women to take over everything. Blah, 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 blah. Go ahead, say it all. I really don't give a crap. These are my honest thoughts about the thing that I just watched. I liked it.
Me too.
I did.
Yeah.
And I love the original Ghostbusters film. That thing is a classic. And like the animated, like the real Ghostbusters cartoon, that thing raised me. Like, don't get me wrong, I had love for like Thundercats and G.I. Joe and all that stuff when I was a kid, but that was the one that was like, no, this is really damn good. Yeah. And maybe it's just nostalgia, but I've gone back and watched that one since then, and like G.I. Joe and Thundercats, yeah, they don't really hold up. Real Ghostbusters kind of still holds up.
Yeah.
That show was still kind of smart. Like, I still really enjoy that, even as an adult. So, trust me, I do have a deep love for the original. And I'm not going to come in here and tell you that this new one is better than the original. I don't think it is.
No.
Okay.
It's good,
yeah,
but not as good as the original.
It's also, I want to say it's completely different. But at the same because there's a lot in this that is completely different. Yeah. And honestly, everything that was different, I was loving. Everything that was different in this film, I was so into. And I'm not even really a fan of like Melissa McCarthy or Paul Feig. Like I saw Bridesmaids. Thank you, car outside. For everybody who doesn't know, we record the post-Geekout reactions here on the thinking couch, just because it's more casual for a discussion, but it's also right next to the open window that we can't close the crack in, which lets all the noise of Brooklyn inside. But yeah, what the fuck was I about to say?
You were saying that you weren't too fond of the
yeah, I'm not too fond of Kirsten Wiig. I really liked for a while, but she's gotten to that point that many SNL alumni get to where it's like, I've seen this one character you're doing many times, please do something different. And Melissa McCarthy, I'm just not. I think she's incredibly talented, but I don't like the character she ends up playing most of the time. And Paul Feig, I like Bridesmaids. I did. But, you know, that's it. Like, everybody else was like, this is one of the best, amazing comedies of all time. And I'm like, I think it is a pretty darn good film. That's kind of where I came in. So I was not, like, going into this thing, like, rooting for these guys to succeed because I didn't really have any dog in the fight. I kind of wanted them to succeed just to shut up all the sexists who were, like, saying this film is going to be absolute garbage because they put women in there. And don't tell me those people don't exist. I have had those people in my store, and they flipped the fuck out the moment someone mentioned the new Ghostbusters film to them. I've had 2 guys in my store go on massive rants when one of my employees saw they were wearing something that had to do with Ghostbusters and asked them, so are you looking forward to the new Ghostbusters film? And they went on rants about how they hated the idea that was all women. And I was like, fuck you assholes. Fuck you. Like, it's so shocking to me. It's like, oh my god, you're not just some like weird creature that lives solely on the internet. You're walking and talking and interacting with other people. This is messed up. So I will admit I kind of want this thing to succeed just to say, go fuck yourself to those guys. But aside from that, I was like, I really don't care. And in all honesty, yeah, I do have an attachment to the original films. I think those original films only really work with that cast and set in the 80s. So I didn't really go into this like wanting it to succeed or wanting it to fail. I was like, just be good. That's all I cared about.
Yeah, and if you go in with that kind of attitude, you're gonna be pleased. You're gonna be happy with the results.
I have to put like a little asterisk on that one because first off, let me just say I watched a ton of other reviews. There are like 5 other movie critics out there on YouTube who I watch and follow to kind of get an idea of like how other people feel, and also because I really enjoy their opinion, so I want to hear their arguments on. I actually like this way more than any of them. So I fully realize I am coming in here more positive than most of the people on the internet. So I'm going to have to deal with that. But I think the reason why I was the most positive on wasn't because I was going into this thing going, you know, just let me see a good movie. In the first like 5 minutes of this film, I was looking at it and judging it in comparison to the other Ghostbusters film, because you can't not do that because it's called Ghostbusters. No matter how much you're saying, I'm going to pretend like this is its own thing, you can't just do that because your mind will instantly be going, okay, is this better? Is this better? Is this better? Is it worse? Is it worse? Is it worse? How is this comparing? How's it stacking up? But this thing opens up with a tour guide giving people a tour of this house. And I looked at him and went, that dude is on Veep. I recognize him from Veep. And you are playing a character very similar to the character you play on Veep. You know what else is a lot like Veep? Parks and Rec. And then after I realized that, I looked at this entire world and all the supporting characters. Because Melissa McCarthy and Kirsten Wiig are pretty much the straight men in the group, in which they're the ones who are the least crazy and eccentric. And I would also even say that Leslie Jones is kind of not that crazy in here. Halsman or whatever.
Yeah.
She's nuts, but that's understandable. But literally every supporting character in here, literally every single supporting character in here, even if they're like a tiny character who you don't even remember the name of, they're a cartoon. They're a flat out goofy cartoon. But for some reason, like 5 minutes into this thing, I said, this is kind of reminding me of Parks and Rec. And the moment I looked at it like that, I went, I get it now. That's the style of humor that they're going for. That style of humor of, we live in a cartoonish world where everyone is just incompetent enough that they can still function, just like the people of Pawnee, for anybody who ever watches Parks and Rec. I went, if I judge it like that, if I look at this not like a Ghostbusters film, but like a Halloween episode of Parks and Rec, this thing's great. This is exactly like, if you enjoy Parks and Rec, you'll easily enjoy the humor in here because it is just like that. And as I said, I wasn't even that big a fan of Bridesmaids, but when I was watching this, I was like, yeah, this is totally the type of humor that I enjoyed about shows like Parks and Rec and Veep.
Yes, like I remember like when we were like exiting the theater, you're like, I'm not quite sure like what comedy or like what audience this movie was aiming at, and then you like mentioned like Parks and Rec. It's like, oh, maybe like this might be aimed towards like the Parks and Rec.
It totally is. Like Parks and Rec, The Office.
Yeah.
Like that whole crowd.
Yeah.
This is a Ghostbusters if it was made to exist in that world. And honestly, I love that. Like I would even throw early Simpsons in there, like the first like 9 seasons of The Simpsons.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, this is an entire world full of crazy, goofy characters, and they're all really bad at what they do, except for like a couple of the main ones who we follow. Honestly, if you wanted to cast this as all women, and you took out the 4 women that we have here, but you replaced them with Amy Poehler, Retta, Aubrey Plaza, and who's the lady who played Ann Perkins? I can't remember, but everybody knows the lady who played Ann Perkins. Put her name right here. If you replace them with those 4 women from Parks and Rec, it could literally be the exact same dialogue, and it would match up with them perfectly. Like literally the 4 women I just described, you can easily see which person in this cast they would be and be like, yeah, exact same dialogue. This could be a great Parks and Rec Halloween episode. And that's exactly how I was judging it throughout this. And a lot of people might hear that and go, oh, so you're saying that it's not a good Ghostbusters film? Of course not, because literally nothing that doesn't star Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd and Harold Ramis is ever going to be a good Ghostbusters film, because those dudes were it. And that was my one problem with the idea of remaking Ghostbusters in the first place. It's that the idea of going out there and catching ghosts, that's interesting, but that's not an idea that lasts for generations and gets new people into it every single year. The thing that made that last for generations was those guys. It was the Ghostbusters. It was the actors who were in that film. They're what sold it. They're what made it special. So you literally can't make anything Ghostbusters without those guys and be able to go, oh, well, it's an accurate representation of that thing, because it's not those guys. However, This is, when you look at this as something new, as a brand new adventure, with a brand new sense of humor, with brand new characters, that just happens to have the same idea of catching ghosts, it's good. It really is. And honestly, like, I come up with joke reviews. I come with that guy clearly disagrees. But, yeah, by the way, there's massive shit going on outside. It took us like 20 minutes to start recording this thing because it was like every 5 seconds something would happen outside. I was like, okay, wait for this fight to stop, wait for this argument to stop, wait for this car to stop wrecking into other cars. Oh, now they're doing maintenance across the street. Great. So, yeah, you're going to hear a little bit more noise than normal on these. But when I do my reviews, I come up with a joke score at the end. I say, I give it A, and then I come up with something that I can use as a metaphor for how I feel about it. But I actually had to give this like a letter grade. I would give it a solid B. Like, it's good. I applaud it for what it did. It has problems, though, that could be improved. How would you feel about it, though? Because I feel like you were enjoying it more than me. Just based on how much you were laughing. Shut the fuck up! Okay.
Well, yeah, it's been a long time since I've seen the original Ghostbusters, but I do remember enjoying it and everything, and I enjoyed this one, too. It's like you said, there's like a lot of wacky stuff going on, and I enjoyed that wackiness.
If you had to give it a letter grade, what would you say you gave it?
I'd probably also give it a B also.
Okay, I thought you might have gone a little bit higher, because I thought you were probably enjoying it a bit more than me, which I have to point this out.
No, but it's like, I was enjoying it, but then you were like mentioning the flaws afterwards, like, oh yeah, you're right, I did kind of notice that.
It's one of those things in which, like, the fun that you have with these characters and with the comedy is so good that you don't really notice too many of the flaws until afterwards, when it's kind of like when your adrenaline starts dying down. And it's like, oh yeah, I didn't think about that. Yes. Which I think that is, again, why I kind of enjoy this more than a lot of other critics out there. Because I think a lot of other critics, they just, because they were not enjoying it quite as much as I was, the flaws were more apparent to them while they were watching it. Whereas to me, the flaws kind of like, oh yeah, when I think back on that, that was the thing. Okay.
It's like, I think for me, like, my adrenaline, like, went down as, like, when the credits kept rolling. Like,
oh, okay, yeah, a lot of people dislike that. I didn't have that much of a problem with it, with the credits stuff, but a lot of people really dislike that the credits just kept going with more and more scenes in there. But I can understand that.
Yeah, it's like, I felt like there was like a lot of scenes cut out of this movie, but they really liked the scenes, so they just shoved them in the credits.
I can see that. Yeah, there's a moment in which after the villain possesses Chris Hemsworth's character, and he makes everybody start doing like a dance pose.
Yeah.
And then they do nothing with it, and everybody in the audience is like, they were going to dance, right?
Yeah.
This clearly was going to be a dance routine, and then the dance routine is in the credits. And I was like, I'm okay with this in the credits, but if you would put this during the movie, it would have stopped the whole film, like, dead in its tracks.
I guess, but like, if they could have like cut back and forth between the dancing and the Ghostbusters fighting off the ghosts, I think that would have really, yeah.
Like have a musical number that like, mixes with the action?
Yeah, like that.
I can see that. That would be cool.
Yeah.
As long as they weren't doing the Ghostbusters dance, which...
That's kind of another issue we had. Like, they kept referencing...
This drove me fucking
They kept referencing not just the Ghostbusters theme, but, like, the old Ghostbusters in general way too much.
Literally, this thing is about 100 minutes long. It's an hour and 40 minutes. They easily had more than 10 moments in this thing where they just stopped the entire film to do like a cutback or a cameo or something like that. That means that less than every 10 minutes they stop the film for it. And it's not like a little wink and nod. Like, I will admit there's some that I like, but those are the ones where it is like a quick thing. Like, like when they're in the university and Harold Ramis has a bust there as like the founder of the school or something, it's like, that was good. That was good because you like stop the camera there for just a second and then we cut to the next thing. Like, just long enough for us to go, oh yeah, okay, that's pretty nice. And it's like, you know, that was a little nice thing, and they kept moving along, that was good. But almost everything else out there, like, it was so forced. Like, Bill Murray's cameo, when he popped out, I was like, oh, this is where you're putting him? Because he was like a paranormal naysayer, like some guy who comes in and disproves, like, ghost sightings and stuff. I'm like, I guess that's kind of a clever thing to do with him, but then it's like, he's not funny in there at all. He's literally just saying stuff. And then I was like, okay, well, he's gone, whatever. and then he pops back up again later for like 3 minutes of the film, and I was like, oh my god, this is just awkward. And then like Dan Aykroyd's cameo when it came in, stopped the whole movie for that, and it was like, who are you? You were like, is this a character that you have been workshopping and just want to put somewhere? And it's like, they had Janine pop up in there, which I was like, Janine's cameo, she's a receptionist at this hotel, and she's being kind of rude on the phone like she was when she was the receptionist at the Ghostbusters. I'm like, that's a clever thing to do, but you spend way too much time on her. And it's like, oh god, yeah, it's like, okay, quick thing, that's clever, but then you spend so much time on it, it's like, okay, now we've stopped the film for this. Now we've stopped the film, but even just like the small stuff, like when she was handing out the flyers for their agency. First off, great joke is when she hands out the flyers and they just say, if you see something, say something, and she's like, I think that's the MTA's like anti-terrorist message, and she's like, oh, you're right, it is. Now I get it. I was like, that's what I really like about this. Everybody is just kind of incompetent enough, and they're like the least incompetent ones, that's why we're following them, but they still like, that's a goof I could see someone making, but would be kind of a big goof, but she notices it too, and is like, oh, I'm an idiot, I'm sorry. It's like, yeah, okay, good, like I can relate to you because you're recognizing the mistake that you made. But then she comes back a moment later and is like, okay, I think I got a better one. If you see something strange in your neighborhood, and I was like, stop, we get it.
It's like, for me, like, I don't think I found the cameos as bothersome as you did, but for me, it was two things, like, too many references to the theme. Like, they had, like, several remixes of the Ghostbusters theme playing throughout this movie.
You actually, as we were sitting through the credits, and it came up, and, like, the list of all the different remixes came up, you actually said, oh my god, how many are there?
Yeah, exactly. That's one of the problems I had, like... And another thing is way too many references to the logo. Like, I felt they harped on that way too much.
That was dumb what they did with
it. Like, I thought it was funny when, like, you know, when they tried to hire Kevin, Chris Hemsworth character, and he tried to show them examples of what logo they can use, and he shows, like, the ghost with the boobs, and I thought that was pretty funny. But, you know, it's like you said, it's, like, just enough, but not entirely.
Yeah.
But then, like,
when they get the official logo, it's from some guy in the subway who he's just spray painting there, and Leslie Jones goes up to him and goes, come on, you do this all the time, stop messing around with your art here. And then he goes, hey man, I saw the ghost that was here. You guys are hunting the ghost? And he goes, yeah, could you draw a picture of it? And then he just starts spray painting everywhere, and Leslie Jones is like, come on man, stop this, stop it. And it's like, it holds on Leslie Jones looking at him, going, stop it, stop, you're messing this up. And like, that's like a minute long.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we know what it is. We know the joke that's coming. We know what's going to be there. And she goes, we don't like ghosts. And they're like, oh, you don't like ghosts? I was like, we know what's coming, we know what's happening, and then it's like, yay, it's there. You destroyed all the build-up for that moment. It took too damn long.
Like, the thing that, like, threw me over the edge was, like, the final battle when...
Before we get to that, I just have to mention, okay, let's set this up for the people who haven't seen it.
Right.
The villain is a guy, he's like a human being, which I kept saying, one of the reasons why I didn't want them to remake this is because the original film, it was set during the 80s, which was during a time in which you had like the average Joe blue-collar action hero out there, and the other thing that was really big at the time was that conservative political parties were trying to get religious people all riled up again to get them to go vote, and that's why back in the late 70s and early 80s, you couldn't flip past 3 channels without seeing a televangelist on TV saying the end of days is coming. So when you watch the old Ghostbusters film, it's blue-collar average Joes, and they're literally going up against a god who's trying to destroy the planet, and their attitude is just, yeah, fuck you, we're not doing that. We were tired of this, and it was kind of a metaphor for how people felt about that, like, end of days crap that everybody was talking about. These days, that's not popular in film. What's popular in film these days is superheroes. And when you look at this, it's like, you can totally tell that's kind of like some of the influence, because they literally have a supervillain as the enemy. The villain is this guy who is like inventing his own ghost machines to bring ghosts into the world. He dies, and then
his ghost
comes in, possesses Kevin, which I gotta say, I hated the villain in this. I thought he was such a piece of, like, not threatening, no personality, not memorable, just super punchable face, like, just really did not enjoy him. until he possessed Kevin. And then Chris Hemsworth was like, oh, well, I have charisma. And then it's like, oh, now he's actually kind of a charming, enjoyable villain. Like, he's that right level.
I think that was, like, meant to be. Like, he was meant to be, like, that punchable... yeah.
I really feel like he was a metaphor for the trolls on the internet who hated this film.
There's a lot of references in this movie to like the trolls that were originally hating on this movie.
There's a moment where she reads a YouTube comment about like video footage they captured of a ghost, and she goes, "Ain't no bitches gonna catch no ghost." And I was like, that had to have been a real comment on one of their trailers.
Exactly, that had to be.
Which honestly, I like that. That was a good way for them to fight back against that. But yeah, it's like this guy, he's living in a basement, hates the whole world. And I was like, yeah, that's what he's supposed to be.
Yeah,
but
that's why he wants to bring the end of the world, because he hates it so much.
Because the girl he liked didn't date him. But that was the other thing. It was like, you want to summon ghosts because people are mean? What? You're stupid. You're really dumb. But towards the end of this, the thing that you were talking about with the logo. There's a moment where we see him in a diner, like, oh, I'll get you, Ghostbusters. And we see him drawing the logo in his notebook, and all I could think was, when the fuck did you see the logo? When did you see it? Like, there had to have been like a scene cut out where you go back to examine the subway and you just see that there or something. It's like,
did he? I'm trying to think if he saw the Ghostbusters car on TV, because that has the logo on the side.
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't think about that. Okay.
Yeah, because remember, Coulson, she took a picture of the graffiti because she liked the logo so much.
Okay, I'll give you that one. I take that back. There is an actual explanation for how he knows the logo. Okay, I totally was wrong on that one. But yes, going back to it, he's created this giant portal. They want to fight him, and he says, "What form should I take?" And I was like, "Fuck you." What? That makes no sense. In the original one, yeah, it made sense for the what form, choose a form or something. Like, they explained in there. And this one is like, there is no goddamn reason for this other than to be a reference to the first one. And he goes, a cute, cuddly little ghost. And then, it literally just turned into a cartoon version of that thing. And they bring out, it's like...
honestly... When Patty Az told him to take the form of a cute, friendly ghost, I thought he was going to be Casper. I really did. I honestly thought he was going to turn into Casper the friendly ghost.
Honestly, that would have been kind of clever.
Yeah,
I would have let that one pass. Partly because, remember the Casper movie they made?
Yeah.
It was Dan Aykroyd appears as a ghost. That would have been fun.
I don't know if they have the rights for it, though, so that's probably why.
But yeah, it's like, dude, I don't know. I'm not a fan of the idea of you actually turning into the Ghostbusters logos. Like, it's just hammering it in too much. But yeah, so that was a big problem that I felt. This thing just went literally every 10 minutes. And also, it kept happening so much that even the small ones that I shouldn't have minded really started to get on my nerves by the end. Because there's a moment where a piano gets thrown at them, and the piano starts playing the dun 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 dun, like the start of the theme.
Yeah, the very start.
And I was just like, dude, I'm done at this point. Even a tiny thing like that is pissing me off.
Yeah, that kind of. At that point, I was like, really? Was that necessary?
And the post-credit scene, people in the audience went nuts, which I just gotta say, a lot of the people in the audience did enjoy those cameos, every single one of them. And also, I gotta point this out. A lot of people are talking about the importance of this taking this classic A-list team that everyone knows and recasting them as women, and that it is important. And yes, it absolutely is important. Would I personally have preferred this to be its own original thing? Yes, mostly because we wouldn't have had to deal with all those cameos and we just would have gotten the original parts, and I honestly loved all the original parts. But I understand the importance of putting women in such a big, classical, well-known role. And this audience was full of women. They were loving so much of this.
I really did enjoy the characters. They were really great.
They are good. They are. Yeah. But even all the cameos and stuff, there were women in there who everything were applying. I was like, you know what? Good for you. I'm glad that you guys have it. But I'm not gonna give this thing necessarily more points because it meant something to you. I will acknowledge that it meant something to you, and I am happy that you have it, and that is a good, great thing. Things still got problems. And one of the things that everybody applauded in that theater was the post-credit scene. I groaned so hard at the post-credit scene because I was like, okay, you did your movie. You did it. good for you, and you had all the callbacks, but now that all the callbacks are done, if this is a success, it means that in the next one, it will just be your own original thing. This will be totally your thing. You can go fresh from here because all the original stuff I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed your characters. I really enjoyed this new sense of humor that you have to it. And if you go in your own original direction, we don't have to keep stopping to compare it to the old thing. It will totally be its own thing. And the post-credit scene is them listening to the tape recorder, and Patty goes, "Hey guys, what's Zool?" And I just went, "Fuck you!" Because then it's like, you have a sequel planned, and the sequel is just gonna be the first movie. It's like, yeah, that is so frustrating me. It's like, you could have had your own thing. But, oh, God.
Assuming there is gonna be a sequel.
Yeah, because they say it's on track to make $45 million this weekend. I don't know if it will or not, but which $45 million is not bad. Not summer blockbuster stuff, and also it looks like Secret Lives of Pets might beat it, which considering it came out last weekend, that ain't good news. So yeah, I don't know if there will be a sequel or not. It really depends on how it does overseas, because as much as I hate saying it, the American market don't mean what it used to, because the Chinese market is what really matters these days.
Yeah.
That's why we've been getting so many, like, sequels that are over a decade old and so many remakes. People are like, oh, it's because Hollywood doesn't have any ideas anymore. No, it's because China didn't get to see these original films because they had a ban on American films when they were first made, but they've heard about it through American culture throughout all these years. So studios are like, wait a minute, they know it's a big thing, they have tons of money over there and massive audiences. If we just remake it and put it back out there, it'll be like their chance to finally discover it. That's why we're getting so many sequels and remakes. It's not because Hollywood doesn't have any ideas anymore. It's because their idea is, yeah, just put it over there and it'll make tons of money. And it does. I mean, we're getting a sequel to that last terrible Terminator film, even though it tanked here in America, because it did well in China. Anyway, that's a side rant. What the fuck were we just talking about? But yeah, if it gets a sequel, it's like, God, it's just gonna be Zool. And I hope, literally everyone I've heard has said, the cameos did not help. So I'm hoping that they learn from that and like, yeah, let's do something else.
I feel like you can tell that they wanted to be their own thing, but they were afraid of losing fans of the original, so they felt like they had to constantly reference the original Ghostbusters. That's what I think.
Honestly, I think that there's a lot of truth to that. I'm not going to say for sure that's what it was, but that's definitely, like, I can see that being an explanation for it, which I find ironic, because it seems like most of the Ghostbuster fans are the ones who are like, no, dude, just stop with this. But then again, I don't know, like I said, there were so many people in that audience where they just applauded like crazy.
Like, I kind of felt like they were trying to, like, please both sides.
Yeah.
Like, please both, people, both sides of the fan.
Have their cake and eat it.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
And as a result,
it's, yeah.
kind of fell short.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's bad. It just, like, fell short.
It's, yeah, this to me, if someone went back through and re-edited this so that you include all those scenes that very obviously were taken out to shorten a moment, but probably would have helped to expand a bit or smooth out a scene, and then you took out like 50% of all the cameos and callbacks, I would think this movie would be way better.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's forget the Batman vs. Superman extended cut. That's the extended super cut I want to see.
Yeah, me too.
I don't want to see 30 more minutes of Batman and Superman being sad.
I want to see Chris Hemsworth dance.
By the way, we just got to talk about that. We got to talk about Kevin. It really kind of frustrates me a little bit that in a movie where the big draw and the big important message of it is seeing 4 women in action who do not look like stereotypical, action heroes, and seeing like real women up there, it kind of bugs me that the MVP of this film was the hunky dude. Because to me, that was the dude who was like, dude, everything you say is a hit. You haven't had one misline in here. He was hands down my favorite character in this entire film. I laughed hysterically at him. Like, I mentioned people who are, like, everybody in this world is just incompetent enough that they can still function. he's the one guy who was dumb even for this world.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I can see how this would be too much, but he plays it with like such sincerity and such confidence in everything that he does. Like there's a moment where he drinks coffee to make sure that there's sugar in there and then spits it out and goes, oh, I forgot I hate coffee. And it's like, he's not like dumb in that moment. He just says like, oh yeah, I forgot I hate coffee. And it's like, yeah, like, okay, I can see how someone would forget that they hate coffee and then just spit it out. Like, no, you can't, but he plays it in that way.
Yeah, like he wears glasses, but there's no lenses in it. And and he says he took out the lenses because they kept getting dirty. And it's like, that is so silly, and yet it kind of makes sense in this world, too.
Like, he says it like, well, no duh, I took the lenses out because they get dirty. I was like, okay. Like, you're sitting there. And the thing is, like, he's so dumb, but you don't look at him like there's something wrong with him. You look at him like he's so handsome, people have just never told him he's dumb. Like, people have never told him he's an idiot. Like, everything just works out for this guy because he's so handsome. And to me, the moment that really sums that up is at the end, where after they save the day, he's just sitting there with a sandwich and like, oh, I went to look for you over in this deli. Didn't find you, but I got this sandwich instead. And Melissa McCarthy is so mad, she grabs the sandwich and throws it away. And he just says to nobody, hey, can you help me out? And then the sandwich is just thrown back into his hand, and there's no one even standing there.
No, it's all off screen.
Yeah, and it's like, that's how handsome this motherfucker is.
But
a random stranger just threw his sandwich back to him.
But I love that because that is obviously a jab at the dumb blonde trope.
It is. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, because like in every other movie that's like mostly like has male characters, and they have like the hot blonde character who's like so dumb she can't even like form a sentence, and yet gets her way because she is so hot and everything. That's Chris Hemsworth's character, and
it is, and he sold it in. God, he was so good. Like, him and Holtzman to me are the two, like, if you ask someone what their favorite character is and their answer is either one of those two, it's both correct.
Damn,
yeah. I also really like Patty. I gotta say that. And the fear going in with this one is that everybody said that Patty is just going to be like some black stereotype. It's like, she's not a scientist, but she's street smart. That's what they said in the trailer. And I was like, oh my God, no, don't. What she says in the trailer is, I know New York. And what everybody interpreted that as was, but she's street smart. I was like, that is such a stereotype. When you watch it, she's not street smart. She reads a ton of books about the history of New York. And she's the one who, when they all know science, she's the one who knows the history behind all this. So she actually knows what connection it could possibly have with events that happen in the real world. It's like, oh my God, she actually serves a really good function on this team.
Yeah, that's the best. I feel like that's the greatest part about it. Is like all the females are all smart, but in different ways. So they each have like something to attribute to the team.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this is a totally well-balanced team. My only real complaint is that Melissa McCarthy and Kirsten Wiig are kind of too similar. Like, Holtzman and Patty are totally different. But I felt like those two were kind of similar characters.
Kind of.
Like they could have, like, I mean, there is definitely a difference between them, but I felt like it could have been a little bit more of a difference.
Like, I always felt like one of them was, like, more practical than the other one.
Yeah, exactly. That's the difference between them. Is that Melissa McCarthy is a bit more eccentric, Kirsten Wiig is a little bit more practical. But yeah, at the same time, I can totally get it. And I was gonna say, there's a lot of things that they do in this film that not even like humor-wise, but just story-wise, I actually really enjoyed as well, that were different. Like when Kirsten Wiig tells why she believes in ghosts, like the story of why she believes in them, I was like, that's a damn good character moment.
Yeah.
That was a legitimately good character moment. And also the one that really got me was when they went to see the mayor. I was like, oh God, this is going to be just like the first. Okay, this is when it starts becoming too much like the original Ghostbusters film. But in the original Ghostbusters film, they were trying to shut the Ghostbusters down, which was important because that was a metaphor about, like, you know, back in the 80s, everybody was worried about big business coming in to shut down the little businessman, or, you know, big government shutting down the little businessman. Like, that was a concern back in the 80s, so it was important they did back then. But what I love that they did here, I'm just going to wait for that car to pass.
I don't think it's passing. I think it's staying out there.
That car was out there for 20 goddamn minutes playing that song. But anyway, we're back now. Center, be relaxed. But yeah, the thing that I actually liked about them going to the mayor in this one is that I thought that this would be the moment where it becomes too much like the original Ghostbusters. That would come later. But in this particular scene, what I like is that the mayor didn't say, I don't know what you're up to, but you gotta shut this down. Instead he said, yeah, I'm actually very glad that you took care of that ghost. We know that ghosts are real. We've known that ghosts are real for a long time. In fact, there are government agencies that study this kind of thing. Why would there not be? Why would there not be other people out there who know that this is an actual thing? And I was like, yeah, that actually makes perfect sense. But then he says, you still have to shut this down because you're doing this publicly. And if you go out there and publicly take care of ghosts and expose to the world that they're real, people will flip their shit. He says that there will be mass hysteria, and I was like, oh god, yeah. And they even repeated it, mass hysteria. I was like, oh, I get it, yeah.
At
like,
least they didn't go like through the entire line.
I really thought they were going to say, oh yeah, cats and dogs living together. And I was like, at least they didn't do that.
Nah.
But still, and what I loved is that I thought is that you can listen to that and go, oh yeah, I get that. That's actually a reasonable explanation for why you would want the Ghostbusters to be shut down. That actually makes sense. And then the Ghostbusters listen to that and go, oh yeah, I guess you have a point. And I was like, yeah, he does. Mm-hmm. And you're handling this like adults. And yeah, they're upset about it, but they realize, yeah, he's kind of correct. People would lose their mind over this. So that was one of those things that I was like, I just have to point that out. That was actually a really smart move that this movie did with that scene. So in the end, the way I feel about this film is this. There are way more negative issues than positive issues, but the positive issues take up more of the movie. Mm-hmm. Like the negative things are, oh god, that scene was bad, that scene was bad, that line was bad, that line was bad. But then the positives are throughout. That's why I say if they did like a master edit of this, and they could just take out the bad pieces, it'd be fine. You know what this film is? It's an oatmeal raisin cookie. You know when you bite into, or like I actually like oatmeal raisin cookies, but like a cinnamon raisin muffin or something like that, where it's like
basically if you don't like raisins and you bite into like a cookie or a muffin that has raisins in it.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's like, wow, the rest of this cookie is great. Why did you put all these little tiny turds in this thing? Can't you just pluck these things out? Like, that's what it is. That's what this film is to me. It's like, there are just raisins everywhere throughout this film. But if you could pluck them out, this would actually be, like, fantastic. And I can still enjoy this thing, even biting into it with the raisins. I'm just like, why did you put raisins in this thing? It didn't need raisins. That's just how I feel. Is there anything else that you want to discuss about?
You pretty much wrapped it up.
Yep, so there we go. So yeah, I feel like I really needed to make that clear, because if you watch the review, I spent more time talking about the negatives. Because yeah, and there's like, not even like the callbacks, but there are just specific like moments in here that I'm like, that's kind of dumb. Like with the ghost, they take him out by shooting him in the crotch. I was like, for real, man? For real? But also someone else pointed this out. I didn't even really think about it, but after he turns into the giant ghost and it's like, oh my gosh, what's he gonna do? He then just turns and walks away from them and just starts destroying random buildings. I was like, the people who can literally stop you are sitting right there. You could crush them and you're just like, whatever. I was like, so yeah, it's, sorry about stepping on your foot. But yeah, it's just things like that. Just all throughout this film. And it's like, God, it could have been like I said, it's a B to me. It's a solid B. But the good parts, I really enjoyed. I'm like, it's frustrating seeing that you could have fixed these things. Like, it's not like you had something that didn't work. You had something that worked, you just kept shoving stuff in there that
wasn't necessary.
Yeah, like I said, it's raisins inside of something that shouldn't have raisins in it. But yeah, that's it. That's just how we felt about it. Let us know in the comments down below if you've seen this, how you felt about it, or if you didn't see it, but you still want to voice your opinion about how we clearly didn't understand this thing that you didn't see, then go ahead and do it. Because why shouldn't I tell you to do that? Because you're going to do it anyways. But yeah, this is so weird because, like I said, I watch a lot of critics on YouTube. This movie, whenever I have watched any critic's opinion on this, it's had the biggest number of downvotes of any film I've seen from them. And literally everyone's just like, it's fine, whatever. Like, everybody is like, it's a C. Like, I'm being more positive on this thing than anybody that I've seen. And yet, every single other person out there who just says, it's okay, is still getting like, boo, fuck you, you don't understand this in the comments. I'm like, yeah, this ain't gonna be fun. I'm gonna get swamped on this one. But yeah, man, I just wanna make it clear. Love the original Ghostbusters. It will always have a special place in my heart. This is not as good as that. It's not a classic film. But you know what? It's fun, and if they had just tweaked this, and like, I would even say like, one of the things that frustrated me as well was that the sense of humor is different, the characters are different, so many things are different. If you had just made them like aliens, or mutants, or science experiments, or creatures from another dimension, or like literally anything else other than Ghost, and then have them just not be Ghostbusters and be like, this is, and like, you know, not have them like move into the firehouse at the end, have them stay in the Chinese restaurant, which I thought was an awesome thing to have happen. Yeah, I think this would have been the start of a brand new franchise, and nobody would have been arguing about it, and people would have been just like, oh, okay, it's some new thing. And then like, yeah, people would have compared it to Ghostbusters, but I think they would have done that like favorably. I think people would have gone, this is the Ghostbusters for the new age, rather than why are you trying to be Ghostbusters? So yeah, it's one of those things that also frustrates me about it. It's like, this could have been like a brand new thing. We could have brand new heroes rather than something that people will constantly try to compare back to the original, including this film itself. This film itself just kept trying to compare to the original. So yeah, that's something else that kind of frustrated me. But as I said, it's good. It is. It is not worth the hate. It's not worth the fury and the anger and the arguments about it. It's not worth like the entire year that we had to put up with the crap of like, oh, well, they say this thing is going to happen, and it's like, it's not worth all that. You know what it is? It's a fun movie to see in the summer, and yeah, that's it. So, there. That's the opinion. Come at me, bro. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Come back next time.
Bye.